You are listening to Resilient Life, the podcast where we explore the power of resiliency. I'm Nikita Ross. It is my hope that listening to this podcast will give you the tools to connect with and increase your resiliency. So join me on this adventure of self-discovery and self-love. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Resilient Life. This week's guest is extra special. Will you please introduce yourself and your chosen profession?
My name is Layla Bishop. My chosen profession is a workforce development administrator. I'm also a realtor and adjunct professor, but for my personal life, I am a wife, a mom, a friend, a Christian, just a person, human.
And a helper?
And a helper.
You are. You do that very well. Thank you, Layla, for agreeing to be on this show this week. After all those things you listed, we know that you're pretty busy. So I appreciate you taking time to meet with me and discuss resiliency.
Absolutely. Love
I'll
it.
start with the first question.
Okay.
How do you define resilience?
How do I define resilience? It's just to keep going. No matter what life throws at you, is just to keep going. It doesn't always have to be wrapped in a pretty little bow. You don't have to do it with a grateful, joyful heart. You just have to keep going. You can be angry while you're doing it, sad while you're doing it, happy while you're doing it. It's that drive or that need or that feeling just to keep going.
I love that. I love that you said, because I've mentioned this before, and I love that you touched on it, is that you don't have to do it while you're happy or, as you said, enjoy. You can do it while you're angry, while you're tired, while you're frustrated. Just do it. And the it is not giving up. Is that correct, Layla?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
With that definition in mind, do you consider yourself to be resilient?
I do. 100% I do. Oh man, there are so many different ways. As a resilient daughter, my brother passed away when I was about 17 years old, and we were only 2 years apart. So to be able to help navigate that with my mom, with myself, with my brother, with my dad, and just finding peace after that, and then building relationships with my family, I feel like I'm resilient that way. I am a 4-time breast cancer survivor, so I feel like I'm resilient in that way. I met my husband about a year after I was first diagnosed with breast cancer. And my daughters were 5 years old, so that was pretty tough. And to just navigate that over the last 13 years with joy and peace and, a little bit of sadness, a little bit of anger, but I've never let that stop me or never let that define me or stop me from doing the things that I enjoy. How am I resilient? Taking chances, being brave, not taking the no's and letting them keep me down. One thing I've always told my children is if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. And I've lived by that, I think, probably my whole life. And I just keep pushing past things. I know that there's storms that will happen in life, but it's so beautiful and so sweet when you reach the other side.
Yeah, those are great. I don't know if you caught it. And you're actually, not everyone does this, but you gave the definition of this is what resilience means to me. And then you literally talked about how your life, your perspective matches exactly with that. The not giving up. You've had some pretty rough, tough, traumatic things happen. And you literally said, I didn't let it stop me. I didn't give up. I wasn't always joyful because it's hard to lose a family member, a sibling, someone close to you. It's hard to survive breast cancer 4 times. And so what I admire about your definition of resiliency, your personal resilience, is you didn't make it seem like it was this fluffy rainbow in the sky kind of thing. You said there was some hard stuff and times were hard. And I also didn't let me keep me down for too long. And so I really admire that about you. and in your definition of resilience. So thank you
Thank
for that.
you. Oh, absolutely.
I want to know, Layla, what brings you
Mm.
joy?
What brings me joy? One, I like that you say the word joy because I've always believed that happiness fluctuates, right? And then joy is something that is in you, it is around you. What brings me joy is, I think, helping others mainly. Um, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and to share with others so they don't make those same mistakes, I think that brings me joy. Helping people attain what they want to attain, helping people realize that it's not the things that are important, it's those moments in your life that you can reflect on. Brings me joy, my family, my friends, food. I think food, and I think you know that about me, is food brings me joy. Um, for many reasons, it not only nourishes our body, but it's also an opportunity for us to be together. I think sitting at a table, sitting outside, taking a walk, when food is involved, it's I don't know, it's the taste of life to me, and that gives us that joy. My church, serving as a deacon in my church, that brings me joy. I guess it goes back to that helping others, but that brings me joy. Seeing others succeed in their passions, like what you're doing, like that brings me joy.
I think you answered this question around the edges. And so I just want to ask you directly, what's your purpose?
What's my purpose? Oh man, my purpose is to be a light to others. To me,
Oh,
that's what it is to be a light. A lot of people are in dark places. A lot of people are in that kind of gray, and a lot of people are out in the sunshine, but don't feel like that they are. So I think for me, my
mm.
purpose is just to be a light.
I think that you are doing a great job at serving your purpose. And
Well, thank you.
I love that that falls under your, because you mentioned being a helper several times now. And I love that being a light, and being a helper, you want to be a light as well. Because are you really helping if you're not kind and
Mm-hmm.
caring and optimistic? And so I uh, really think that that's awesome that you know your purpose. There are some of us who don't know what our purpose is, and are still trying to figure it out. So I think you are in a great spot that you already know your purpose. And I can only imagine how good that feels to know it and to
Mm-hmm.
be able to live it um, every day. That doesn't mean that sometimes we don't miss the mark because we're human,
Mm-hmm.
but you are attempting to live it every day. And I say that because I know you. And so I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and
What is the healthiest thing you've done for yourself?
the healthiest thing I've done for myself, setting boundaries.
Mm,
I feel like because I am such a helper and I am so busy and all of these things, that sometimes I forget that I have to take care of me. And even though it's easy to be like, oh, I got that, no problem, I'll take care of it, it does truly start to dim your light. So I think the healthiest thing that
mm,
I've done and I continue to do throughout my life is setting boundaries for myself, to say no, to say, I can't help you right now, to say, I need you to give me some time to be that helper. Or I need you to check in with me because even though it seems like I have it all together, like sometimes, hey, are you good? Or instead of like, hey, how you doing?
yeah.
Oh, good, I'm fine. It's more of the, how are you? And then that
Mm,
allows me to say, you know what, today I'm not okay. My daughters, for example, they've known me their whole lives, and they think that mom isn't sad sometimes. Mom doesn't have it all together. So when I share that, hey, I'm setting this boundary for myself because I'm not always okay when you guys call or when we're together. And they're like, huh, I thought mom just was like perfect. And it's really showing
yeah.
them that we are not all perfect and we'll never be perfect. Right. And we
Yeah.
shouldn't strive to be perfect. We should just strive to be the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah. I think that that is a common struggle for parents. And I can only speak as a mom. Dads probably go through it too, and non-gender identifying individuals. I can only speak as a mom that we want to be that all for our kids. And it's like this delicate balance of being that constant support, everything they need. I'm strong for you. And as they get older, letting them know that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to need time to yourself. And for me, which is really big that you said, it's okay to have boundaries. Can you tell me, Layla, why boundaries are important?
For me, boundaries are important is because I will burn myself out. Like I
Mm,
will do it all until I can't anymore. It's a protective factor for me. Um, because I can't help others if I can't help myself.
yes.
If I can't be healthy, joyful in my life, it's hard to be that light. It's hard to be happy,
Yes.
healthy for other people. And then I think it's also is a walk the talk. So if you're telling other
Mm,
people, create boundaries for yourself, do some self care, but you yourself are not setting boundaries or doing that self care, I think it makes it hard for people to believe you or to do it for themselves.
mm,
So for my kids,
mhm,
it's an example of saying, I'm not okay today. It's okay for me to visit where this is. I'm just not going to live there, but it's okay to visit. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry. Just don't live there, you know? And I mean, we're given all of these emotions for a reason. And I think sometimes our society attaches negative meanings to being sad or crying or emotional, whether you're a man, woman, or whatever. You just have this negativity around it. And when you normalize crying or being sad or being angry or yelling out the car window, I think we're healthier for that. So those are all boundaries for me. And I think it's important to have those boundaries.
yeah. I think that resonated with me, Layla, that you said is the emotions. And I would teach my daughters that there's no such thing as a negative emotion. Emotions are. The problem comes with how we express those emotions.
Hmm.
And so I like that you said, you can sit with it for a little bit. Or if you're angry, yell out of a car window, which I never thought of. Mine is more of a scream into a pillow, or sometimes we would get a bat and just like beat a pillow and get the rage out. But I never thought about screaming out of my car window. I may have
Oh
to
yeah.
try
Oh,
that.
do it. It's
So that
totally
really,
therapeutic. Wind's hitting your face and then you just yell
yeah,
out the window and you're just like,
okay, I'm gonna try it. I'll try that. But I love that acknowledgement because you're correct. As humans, as a society, we haven't quite gotten it right on this whole we're emotional beings thing and how to navigate through those emotions in a healthy way. We're working on it, we're
yes.
making progress, but I would say as a collective, we still have some work to do. So I'd love that we have pockets of people saying, hey, it's okay to have emotions. It's how you express them that matters, and try not to stay in the emotions for too long. I like that. For a person who either hasn't connected with their resiliency yet or wants to increase it, how would you tell them to either connect with their resiliency or develop or increase their resiliency?
So I believe that everybody has resiliency. I don't think that we get through this thing called life without having some sort of resiliency. And we've been resilient beings since the day we were born. I mean, to have the courage to come into this world and navigate all of the expectations, all of the challenges that happen from birth till the time that we die, everybody has some resiliency. So first and foremost, know you have resiliency. To increase your
Yes.
resiliency is finding your purpose, always wanting to learn more, surrounding yourself with people who, not I wouldn't say necessarily like-minded, because I don't think everybody's always like-minded, and I think you should surround yourself with people who challenge you, people who are like you, but really have that positive spirit majority of the time, coming from a place of love. Like, I live my life. My husband is a very live your life with love person. My faith is about living your life with love and not judgment. And I would encourage people who want to increase their resiliency to figure out what you're striving for, what your purpose is, what your why is. And then just doing it a little bit at a time and really recognizing everything you do is resilience, from getting up in the morning, making food for yourself, going to work, just anything is a form of resiliency. And so kind of shifting your mindset to realize that.
Layla, I love that. I did a episode that's coming out soon, and it literally said that I've been studying resiliency for over a decade, and it wasn't until doing this podcast that I realized it is a mindset shift. I literally thought it was like, okay, if I equip people with these like traits,
Mm-hmm.
help them get a healthy support system, help them have a purpose, like all of these. And I was like, check, check, check. And now you should be
Yeah.
resilient. But it wasn't until I've been
Yeah.
speaking with wonderful guests like yourself that I learned that it is what you said, those things, but mostly a mindset. So thank you for that validation.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. That was really awesome. Tell me, Layla, what is your theme song? So if you were looking in the mirror, feeling good, feeling glamorous, and you wanted to like just feel yourself, what song comes to your head?
You know what? It's kind of interesting as you were saying that question, all of the Rolodex of my favorite songs were going through my head, my favorite bands, my favorite artists. But the one that keeps rolling in my head is that song by Mandisa, I'm an Overcomer. Um, just because the
Okay, I don't
beat
know that
of
one.
it. Oh, okay. So you have to listen to the song by Mandisa, and it's like, I'm an
Okay,
overcomer. I cannot sing, so don't put that out there, but
it's
it's a
okay.
really
You
good
can give us the
song.
lyrics or you can sing whatever you want.
It's a really good song. It's just called I'm an Overcomer. Like, you overcome so many things, and I guess if I'm looking at myself in the mirror, that's what I feel like.
Oh my goodness. I like that. Layla, where do you feel most at home?
I think at home, at home.
At home? Okay.
We recently moved, as you know, um, further north with more property, and we're discovering things about ourselves, and we travel into the valley quite a bit. And I think that's really probably encouraged me more to feel at home, with my family, friends,
Mm,
or even by myself, or with my husband, or with my chickens, or with the dog, or whatever. But I think at home is where I feel most at home.
I like it. That is a fantastic answer. And it's good because you spend so much time in that physical space of home. And so I'm glad that at home is where you most feel at home. I feel most at home with my daughter and my bonus daughter because
Mhm.
I get to be my silliness gets to come out, and my silly side
Mhm.
doesn't get to. It's fine. I can't. I just feel most comfortable allowing my silly, goofy, awkward side out around my daughter, my bonus daughter. So that's where I feel most at home. Wherever we are, there's not like a physical space for me. It's when I'm
Mhm.
able to like fully let out all of Nikita, the quirks, the goofiness, the awkwardness. And that's with my daughter and bonus daughter. And I think it's the same for them when I talk to them. I don't directly ask them, hey, do I make you feel at home? But when we talk about traveling and spending time together, they're like, oh, yeah, mom, you have to be there. So I'm like, okay, I think they also fell at home with me. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Layla, what
I
is
love
the
that for
thing
you.
that has made you smile recently?
Oh boy, what has made me smile? I mean, doing this with you, getting to see you and your passion come to fruition, and this today, that's what's made me smile. My husband doing the dishes have made me smile. My friend coming to visit has made me smile. My puppy makes me smile. I feel like I like to smile pretty much at a lot of things. I had a deacons meeting this morning, so I got to start my day off with making things a little bit better. So a lot of things make me smile in a day.
I like that. I think what I hear from your answer is back to that whole joy thing, right? It's a choice. So we can choose to smile or we can choose to complain.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so you have the personality of I choose to smile based off of your answer, aside from me knowing you, just based off of your answer that you just gave. A lot of things make me smile, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this. Do you agree that it's a choice?
It is a choice. And along with that is recognizing that it's okay to smile, even though you're not feeling happy or joyful at that moment. Like, I feel
Mm,
like sometimes when we're not in a good mood, we tell ourselves, oh, I can't smile. But you can. Like, if something's funny or something makes you laugh, it's letting that guard down of, I'm in a bad mood. I'm going to continue not to smile, and
hmm
just allowing
Yeah,
yourself to smile, giving yourself permission. I think that's where our society kind of falters, is not giving ourselves permission to be joyful in moments of sadness. I kind of think of it like when people pass away, right? It's not a joyful time for people when their loved ones pass away,
correct.
but you find most people who know that they're going to pass say, I don't want you to be sad.
Mm,
And it's okay to smile, have those fond memories about them. Yeah, it hurts and it's a sad time, but you can smile. So you can smile through the
yeah,
pain sometimes and to get
yeah,
to that other side.
yeah. And I agree. And I think in addition to, because you do take the time to grieve, as you said, and I would imagine or think about the times that I've lost someone that when I smiled, it wasn't necessarily me smiling through the grief, but it was me remembering
Hmm.
positive or good things about that person, fun times we had, a great interaction. And
Hmm.
so, again, choice, right?
I think it's a
Yeah,
choice.
yeah, yeah. So, we talked about boundaries, we talked about the healthiest thing you've done. What is something that you're proud of?
Boy, that's a loaded question. So many things that I think that I'm proud of, but I think the thing that I'm most proud of is building and surrounding myself with a community of people that share love, that share joy in each other's joy, that share sadness in each other's sadness, and
Mm,
appreciating moments that build what we call life. I mean, we get one of them. That's it. You get one. And so you want to make the most of it. And I think surrounding myself with people who teach me every day and who I'm able to share my passion and love with, I think that's what I'm most proud of. I mean, I'm proud of my family, my kids, my career, and all of these things. But at the end of the day, if you're not sharing it with people and not sharing who you are and sharing your faith and surrounding yourself with those types of people, then what are you doing? What is your purpose? So I think
yeah,
that's what I'm most proud of, is
yeah,
building a positive community around myself.
I like that. What advice would you have for people who are learning to build a positive community around themselves? It may not be, so you're pretty sociable. It may not be as easy for everyone to do that. What practical steps could you give someone who wants to do that?
Balance. It's about balance. I am not always
Mm,
social. Sometimes I just want to ignore the world. Sometimes I want to be social. It's about balancing who you are and not trying to be somebody else. I'd like to
mm,
be the one who can sing and tell jokes and all of these things, but I'm just not that person. you know, be who you are, and those
mhm.
types of people will gravitate towards you and you will gravitate towards them. My husband, a lot of people think that he's very social, and he's not all the time, but everybody loves him. because he is who he is. And I think for people who want to build that positive community is one, be who you are, because it's hard to sustain somebody that you're not. It's okay to take
Yeah.
time to balance your activities and figure out what you want, you know? And, any negativity, consistent negativity, because everybody can be negative, but any consistent negativity, you have to reevaluate, do I really want to have that negativity in my life? Why am I continuing to keep that negativity in my life? And then have somebody to speak to, somebody to be able to bounce things off of, share your opinions, somebody who validates your opinions and how you feel. And you're going to get it wrong sometimes, or not wrong
Yeah.
necessarily, but it's not always going to work out the best way sometimes, and it's okay. There was a quote a long time ago I heard or read or something like that. Sometimes people are in your life for a season. Sometimes people are in your life for the long haul. And it's okay to let that fluctuate.
Layla, I appreciate the thoughtfulness you are giving in your answers. A part of being resilient is not holding grudges, not letting bitterness or resentment build up. With that in mind, do you feel like you've forgiven yourself?
Mostly. Mostly. There are things that I work on every day to continue to forgive myself for some of the things, but I think my faith helps with that. Says God, his mercies are new every day. And for me, I feel like I get a start over, a do over every day. There's always those lingering things that you've done way back when that you're like, oh, that you haven't forgiven yourself. But I would say mostly. But I'm always a work in progress. We're all walking works in progress. So yeah, I would say so.
We are. Layla, can you tell me why it's important for us as humans to forgive ourselves?
Oh my goodness. I would say that it's important because we can't move on. We can't take those
Mm.
steps unless we have forgiven ourselves for whatever that is. Doesn't mean it goes away completely, because it doesn't go away completely. But that's that accepting I'm okay to not be okay with that and then move on. Because that's that kind of like staying in that space. If you stay in that space, you can't move on, like truly move on. So it's important to forgive yourself. A lot of times we take the blame for things that were either out of our control, or that we didn't know that was happening, or we weren't the only ones in it. And sometimes it truly is us. But in order to forgive ourselves, we just have to say, I forgive myself, and continue that healing. It's very therapeutic and it's very healing. And I think that we all need to be healed. Those scars will still be there as a reminder, but it's a very healing process once we forgive ourselves.
Yeah, that's very powerful, Layla. I think in addition to that, and I agree with everything you said, I would say that when we struggle to forgive ourselves, we carry around this shame and guilt,
Mm-hmm.
which, as you said, can cause us to be stuck. And stuckness looks like not being able to fully radiate in joy or love,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes having difficulty forgiving others because we haven't yet learned to forgive ourselves, which
Mm-hmm.
makes me think about an answer that you gave earlier about the importance of boundaries, because we
Mm-hmm.
can't pour from an empty cup. So,
Nope.
in filling up our cup with love, self acceptance, forgiving ourselves, we are then able to, in your words, be the light for others, share joy. So, that's what I love about self forgiveness. And then a thing that I struggle with the most, Layla, with forgiveness of myself was it took me a long time to realize that I was doing the best that I could with the information that I had at the time. So because I've
Mm-hmm.
grown, I'm like, why would you ever do XYZ? And then it took lots of words from my therapist to say, hey, at that time, did you know another way to do XYZ? And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, no. And then she was like, so why are you beating yourself up when you did the best you knew how to do? And so that is my uh, constant, uh, for lack of a better word, struggle that I face, of like thinking about the things that I've done when I was in my early 20s or late teens, even probably up to my mid 20s. And it's just like, what were you thinking? And so I'm just constantly saying, you're okay, Nikita. You did the best you knew how to do. You weren't like trying to actively harm others. And not that I cause harm intentionally, but sometimes we unintentionally harm others when we are in our own trauma, when we haven't healed, and when we haven't forgiven
Right.
ourselves. And so I think your answer was really profound. Thank you,
Thank
Layla.
you.
You are officially out of the hot seat. I don't have any more questions for you. Do you have any last statements before we close out this episode?
Just, thank you for being open. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for yourself being resilient to whatever negative thoughts that you might have had doing this, and still persevering and still pushing through that and being resilient yourself. It's kind of like that walk the walk. You are walking your talk. And I love being your friend. I love that you are in my community and I'm in your community with positivity, gratitude, and love. And just, I love you, Nikita, and thank you.
I love you. I love you, Layla. And thank you so much for, again, taking time out of your busy schedule and answering these questions with thoughtfulness and humility and vulnerability. Thank you, Layla.
You're welcome.
I hope this episode gave you some tools to connect with and increase your resiliency. I'm proud of you. Let's keep up the momentum. Follow Resilient Life on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube at Resilient Life Podcast. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.